Well, in other news tonight, the ex-wife of Pharaoh strip club owner Peter Gerace testified today at his ongoing drug and sex trafficking trial.
Katrina Nigro said the drug use and prostitution were pervasive inside the club during the 7 years that she worked there, selling lingerie and keeping the books. And she also dropped a few names today while on the stand, as we hear from 2 on your side's Dave McKinley. Dave?
Scott and Mary Alice Gerace is accused of operating Pharaoh's as a drug-involved premises, allegedly plying dancers with narcotics and then using the addictions they developed to them to coerce them into sex acts with friends and high-paying customers. In correspondence to 2 on your side, Gerace has described Katrina Nigro as a bitter ex-spouse who will say anything to make him look bad. And she had plenty bad to say today. In late 2019, just days after the raid at Pharaoh's, which ultimately led to her ex-husband's indictment, Katrina Nigro contacted the FBI and started talking. By then, she and Peter Gerace's acrimonious marriage had ended, one which she says began with a sham ceremony performed without witnesses by the late state Supreme Court Justice John Michalski, who she says was a close friend of Gerace's and frequent visitor to the club. She testified Michalski, who stepped in front of a train shortly after Gerace was arrested and then who killed himself just days after his home was raided by the FBI, was among those who would partake in private parties in a room on the second floor of the club with dancers who would engage in sex in exchange for drugs. Throughout your time working there, did you form an opinion that sex acts went on upstairs and in the VIP areas of the club? She was asked. It 100% went on, she replied. Nigro, whose testimony will resume next week, also told of an occasion where Gerace paid an attorney he hired to represent her in a DWI case with cocaine and the sexual services of a drug-addicted dancer. It all worked together hand in hand, she said, of the nexus between drugs and sex involving dancers. Most had to be impaired just to do their jobs. Nigro also claimed to have witnessed 8 dancers overdose inside the club and that she saved 2 of them by administering Narcan. She testified that several local politicians were involved in sex and drug activities upstairs at Pharaoh's, but wasn't asked to name them, and that she could remember at least 3 Buffalo Sabres who also did. But here again, she was not asked to give their names. One name she did mention was actor Lilo Brancato, who starred as Robert De Niro's son in the movie A Bronx Tale and later had a role on the hit TV series The Sopranos, before his involvement in drugs at a burglary where someone was killed landed him in state prison. She says he was one of the visitors to one of those upstairs parties after he was released from prison sometime around 2014. On your side of the newsroom, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
Dave.